it's all about turtles, all sizes of turtles using the same pattern is what we're doing today. Hey, it's Tammy, Crafty Mompreneur. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. It's Turtle Day. And what do I mean by Turtle Day? Well, I have a market coming up on April 5th, and these little mini turtles are usually a good seller for me, and I have maybe 3. What I thought I would do in today's video is not only make turtles, but make them in all the different kinds of yarn that I have. And this particular pattern that I use, she also has like a mods pack, and I had purchased that a while back and I have never really used it. And so I thought I would also make some of those in this video. You guys seem to like the crochet show us different yarns kind of videos. So I'm kind of combining a video that I'm featuring a pattern that I love, as well as showing you this pattern in all different kinds of yarns. So this is going to be part 1 of this video for this week. I'm going to be using this turtle pattern because I know this is a good seller and it's pretty quick to make. And what I'm going to do is make this pattern in like 6 different yarns. So I'm going to show you those now. We have, I love this yarn, acrylic. And for that I use a 4mm hook. Then I found some Parfait chunky. This is the best I could do with the green. It's kind of like a weird green, but whatever. And for this I use a 4.5. Then I have some big twist Posh and Knotty ball. For these 4 I use a 5. And then I found some Chenille Home Slim and Sweet Snuggles Lite, and I'm going to be using a 5.5mm hook. Then we have some Bernat Blanket, and this I use a 6.5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different yarns. If I get ambitious, I could do milk cotton as well, but we'll see. And then once I get done with this part, there's some mods that she has for this pattern, and I'm gonna also try and make some of those. So while I was on the treadmill this morning, I did get all of the shells made. Well, okay, I didn't get all the shells made. I made most of the shells. Let me show you. These are the shells that I got made on the treadmill this morning, and these took me about 47 minutes, I think, 48 minutes. They take about 10 minutes each. Then I went ahead and sat down. For these littler yarns, I have to actually like concentrate, and I can't use this kind of yarn on the treadmill. It's just too hard. I don't love working with this, but this kind of yarn is like milk cotton. I don't know if you can see it, if it's focusing. And so this is going to be a little tiny turtle, and this is the Hobbii Lobby turtle shell. This should be a fun video to make for the next 24 hours or so. It's Turtle Day, so let's get to crocheting and making some turtles. So far I have all the shells done, and then I made this tiny little head. This is the milk cotton version. And then I made the, which one is this? I think this one's Posh. So these are the yarns that I have left to make heads out of, and then we will start assembling them. Now I have made this turtle pattern quite a few times, and like I said in my intro, it always is a great seller for me, but I never have made it in anything other than Parfait chunky and Chenille Home Slim. So making it in this little tiny yarn is interesting. And I've never made one in Bernat Blanket yarn either, so this will be a little bit bigger. But this is, I do really love this pattern because it's good to make in batches, because you can make all the shells, you can make all the heads, and then you basically put it all together. So it's a great pattern. So if you are looking for a quick market make, I will link the pattern in the description box below, and then there's also a expansion pack. I'm hoping to get a few of those done in the next 24 hours. because my focus is just turtles for the next 24 hours. I thought I would walk you through how I attach the head to these plushies because I have gotten that question. When you first make this pattern, the head will definitely be floppy, and I like to secure the yarn down at the closing hole, and then I will bring the yarn up through the shell and simply pull the head back and go through the shell and into the head. And I just do that a couple times, and I like to go, just take like little bits. I mean, it's not like super difficult sewing by any means. It's really just tacking it down. And then I always like to kind of bend the head a little bit forward so that it sits right. And sometimes when you're doing this pattern, for me anyways, if you overstuff it, and then it definitely doesn't sit right. So usually I will go to get the right amount of stuffing to the front. The other thing that I found with this pattern sometimes is bend it down and overstuff it, secure it. It will tend to topple over. There's really not head heavy any right or wrong way. And what I found to help with that is to just not overstuff it and make sure that the bottom of the plushie is flat. And if it's poking out anywhere, sometimes you just got to readjust the stuffing to make it sit right. Add another stitch in there to hold it. When you're happy with how it looks, just go ahead and secure the thread and tie a knot. And then I always like to just run the yarn back through the plushie, adjusting the feet if you need to. Tip is that you definitely want to, and again, with this acrylic yarn, I'm in and out of the same working with the acrylic yarn. That's just something that I did not do. Took a little more when I was first starting out, and what I found is my yarn turns out. When you're happy with it, go ahead, just clip it off, kind of just secure that yarn outside instead of going back in through the exact same hole. And your little turtle is done. Another tip that I wanted to share is that with chenille yarn, I have found that these plastic needles from Clover work way better than any metal needle. With chenille yarn, we all know it really sheds so much. And these plastic needles, when you're closing up the hole especially, and doing those, front loop only closures, these plastic needles I found work way better than any of the other metal needles that I've tried. We've made it to the last little turtle, and this one is going to be a time lapse. Now that all the turtles were done, it was time to gather more Sweet Snuggles Lite and Chenille Home Slim to make some of the pattern modifications, and these are the colors that I'm going to be using. Okay, so far on the treadmill this morning, I don't know, it's like Thursday, I think. I made this shell, which I modified one of her mods, and I just made the petals a little bit different. And then this is going to be another turtle. And then I'm gonna see if I have enough of these colors to do like a pastel rainbow turtle shell. So that is what we're doing this morning. And then this will be, I think, the last of the turtles for this challenge. So we shall see. Okay, if you are working this pattern and you bought this pattern, I wanted to just share how I get my heads to look like this, because I think every time someone makes a pattern, it usually always looks a little bit different, and sometimes you're just curious, like, what do other people do? So I'm just going to share what I do, so in case you have this pattern and you know you need ideas on what I do. In the very last round of this pattern, she tells you you can either, and a lot of patterns do this, she tells you can either add or take away stitches and then single crochet across. And I've seen this in almost all the turtle patterns that I've done, so this is not anything like new. But for this particular pattern, I tend to like to add single crochets and make his neck a little bit longer. So then when I tack it down, like, it just sits better. That's just how I have done them. So here's my marker, and I'm gonna just, I think I add like 4 stitches to get to the other side, 3 or 4. I think it depends on, let's see, did I add 4 or 3? I added 1, 2, 3. I added 4. So when so then it makes the neck a little bit longer. So then when you single crochet across, just always make sure that your eyes are on either side of the turtle's head. And so you can check that by looking straight on and then looking from above. So when you're making turtles, that's just another way to check to make sure your eyes are straight. And then you can single crochet across here. And now your turtle's head is ready to be put on to the shell. I've got a big mess going on here, but I wanted to give a few tips before I finish off these turtles and show you them all completed. One of the ones I'm making is this pizza turtle, and this is on the expansion pack from Meg Makes Crochet. And if you make this one, I can't remember on the pattern if it says to do this or not, but I would suggest putting your pepperonis on before, like, you stuff it, because I just feel like it's a lot easier to just whip stitch around each of the pepperonis and then be able to tie them off on the inside rather than try and do it like with a completed one. That's just my own personal opinion. I know some people like to glue stuff on their plushies, but I don't generally do that unless it's like felt. I might reinforce with glue sometimes, but I generally try and just sew everything on. So that is my tip for the pepperoni one. And then the other thing that I wanted to just share before I get it finished is in the pattern pack, it shows you how to make this like daisy turtle. Sunflower turtles have always been like a popular seller for me, but the ones that I usually make from All From Jade take a good over an hour to make. And these I can get done in just over a half an hour. And so I took the idea from this one and changed the colors and used a brown instead of the yellow. And then for the sunflower petals, the stitch that I used, I just followed the same idea as this one, but I did a, I don't know if you can tell, I did a half double, a double, and then I did the chain 2, and I think it's called a picot stitch up at the top where you chain 2 and then a slip stitch into the 1. And then I did another double crochet here. So it's half double, double, picot stitch, double crochet, half double, and then, you know, just do what the pattern says and slip stitch into the second one, I think it is. And then you just repeat that around. So that's how the difference in the two of those. But I just wanted to share that in case you guys are getting this pattern pack, or you were curious on how to make a sunflower petal. And again, there's so many different ways and tutorials out there on how to make these. But I like to share some tips and stuff in my videos for you guys. So I guess the next time that you will see this, all of these turtles will be done. I finally finished all the turtles. Now, I normally don't like to batch make things, and I've told you guys that before, but for this particular video, I decided to just make all the turtles. And the reason I did this is because in one of my previous videos, I asked for suggestions on video ideas, and one of the things that you guys suggested is you liked seeing plushies made in different types of yarn. And so I proceeded to dive into all of my yarn and find as many different types of yarn and make the same pattern in all the different yarns. And I know you've seen some of them being made throughout the course of this video, but now I'm going to show them to you one by one and kind of show you the size comparison difference and all of the things. Then I'm also going to show the extra ones that I made using the modifications pattern that is available for this particular turtle pattern. Let's start with the little guys and move on up to the bigger ones. So the first little turtle is this little guy made with milk cotton yarn. If you want to look up close of what the yarn looks like, it's a very soft yarn, and I bought a bunch of this yarn, I think on Amazon or something, because it was early on in my crochet journey. I don't know if that's coming up on camera or not. Okay, there we go. Now you can see the fibers. But yeah, this is a very tiny yarn, very soft, but I used a 3.75 millimeter hook, and this is how big it is. It's about 3 inches from head to the back. From the top of the head to the bottom is about 2. So this is just a little guy, fits in the palm of your hand. Little baby turtle. The next yarn I used was this, and it's the Hobbii Lobby. I love this yarn, and I used a 4 millimeter hook. This is, why is it not focusing? Oh, focus yarn. Hey, you guys know what this looks like. So, and then here is the little turtle. Another palm size, but this one is 3.5 inches, almost 4 inches, and I want to say almost 3 inches tall. So size comparison for the two little guys. These are the only two I did in acrylic yarn, and I will tell you that acrylic yarn is my least favorite yarn to work with. I don't know, and I've said this before, they are cute, but I don't make a lot of stuff in acrylic yarn because I generally make stuff to sell, and the amount of time it takes to make one is obviously the same, and I probably could only get like $8 for these. I don't think people would pay more than like $8 for a plushie of this size. Moving on to Parfait Chunky, I didn't have a very good selection of colors with Parfait Chunky because I'm just trying to work my way through what I have, and I'm not really using Parfait Chunky anymore. So I didn't really have a good green color to use with the Parfait Chunky. So I had to go with this like grayish green. I don't even know what color this is. And then this color. And for Parfait Chunky, I use a 4.5 millimeter hook. And here's the little turtle. And this one is like almost 5 inches from head to toe, or from head to tail. And then about 3.5 tall. So size comparison from the littlest to this one. Well, this is not going to be very big. So there's a little size comparison. And this is the smallest one. Okay, then we move on to the Posh. And I know Posh is not really readily available anymore, but I still have some. So this was the Posh yarn that I used. And for Posh, I use a 5 millimeter hook. And where is my little Posh turtle? These are pretty good standard turtle colors, but here is that turtle. Super cute. And the size on this guy, almost 5 inches from the head to the tail, from there to there, almost 5. And a little over 4 tall. So, and if you've seen my video comparing Knotty Ball yarn to Posh yarn, it will be no surprise that the Knotty Ball plushie is almost identical in size to this. I use the same 5 millimeter hook. I just can't believe how close this yarn is to each other. Knotty Ball is a tiny, tiny, tiny bit bigger, but I could use them interchange. I even like struggled when I had the yarn in another room and I was trying to remember, okay, which one was the dark brown and which one was which. I was struggling. So they're definitely, for me, I feel very interchangeable. And so if you needed, you know, something to replace Posh, Knotty Ball is definitely gonna be the closest thing that I have come across. There's these two little guys. And then we move on to my favorite yarn to make this turtle pattern out of, and that is the Chenille Home Slim and Sweet Snuggles Lite. And unfortunately, we all know that this yarn's not readily available anymore in the good quality that it used to be, but I still have a decent stash of it, and so I was able to make a Chenille Home Slim and a Sweet Snuggles Lite. I'm not sure if this one is, which one is which, but this one is my favorite way to make it, using this yarn and a 5.5 millimeter hook, because this makes almost a 6-inch long plushie and almost 5-inch. So a decent sized plushie that I usually sell $12 to $14. I can't remember which I do for those. I think because I'm making them bigger. I used to make them out of Parfait Chunky and sell them for $12. And so I think I'm moving up to $14 for these, but they are a bigger size now. So, and then a yarn that I have never made these out of is Bernat Blanket. And so I went with the same kind of like brown, and I used Malachite, I think is this one. And this is Sienna for Bernat Blanket. And you get a really decent size turtle out of this one. And his size is almost 7 inches by, I want to say it's probably about around 6. Yeah, a little less than 6 tall. So this is definitely a better size, but I don't know, I feel like it's just a little too big. So I don't think I would make them out of Bernat Blanket. I think still my favorite is the Chenille Home Slim and Sweet Snuggles Lite size. Now here they all are lined up. It's my little turtle army. Now, because turtles have always been a pretty good seller at markets, I wanted to make some of the modifications that Meg Makes Crochet has for this particular pattern. I have been using this pattern for quite a long time, and I have in the past made several different versions of, of modifications. One that I've made quite a few of is like a pizza turtle. And so I wanted to remake a pizza turtle. She also has like, I think it's a free Instagram like mod where you can make it a ninja turtle. I just didn't really have a good red. I always sell the pizza turtle when I make it. So I did also do the sushi turtle. And I made a big one of these out of a different turtle pattern. And it did take a while to sell. So I'm not sure how quickly this one will sell. But it was one of the pattern mods in her pattern pack. So I think it turned out super cute. I used up a bunch of scraps from the ones that I had of Sweet Snuggles Lite and Chenille Home Slim, and was able to do like a pastel rainbow shell for this little turtle. I did go ahead and use all Sweet Snuggles Lite and Chenille Home Slim for these other turtles because it is my favorite yarn to use for this pattern. I didn't want to work up a bunch of other ones in the yarns that I don't really love in this pattern. And then the final two that I did was this daisy flower, and this is one of the pattern mods. And then in the footage, you should have seen the mod that I explained for doing like a sunflower turtle. So then I did this one. Another one of the mods that I did for this pattern, I didn't redo them. I did make the droids that's in the turtle pattern, and they turned out pretty cute. Here's a picture of what they looked like. The pattern mods has a whole bunch of different ways that you can make it. These were just the ones that I picked. So yeah, 12 turtles in the last like 24 or so hours. I think it's pretty good, and I'm totally done making turtles for a while. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you decide to give this pattern a try, the link for it is in the description box below. And if you have any questions on it, let me know. I've actually made quite a few of them, obviously. That's gonna do it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe because Sunday is Granny Square Sunday. And we are going to be laying out my Granny Square cardigan, taking a look at different options. I may have you vote on some options in the video, but we will see how it goes. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye. So what I would thought, fire, I think. Okay, why is it not focusing? Why is it not focusing? Reveal. Me at markets. First, I'm gonna show some, okay.